Hello, lovelies!
I have a pretty unstructured video today. We're gonna try something a little bit different. I discovered a crazy new app that I'm kind of in love with. They're brand new. It's called Castability. For today's video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I think of Castability in case you've come across it and you're interested in it. And I'll even show the video of what I submitted and then talk a little bit about what my scores were. Yeah, because they're scores. Let's just jump right into it. To get started, Castability is a new app that was designed by actors in the industry to kind of help us be able to have our practice self-tapes be seen by casting directors and then get numerical feedback so we can really start to kind of quantify what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what do casting directors look at when they see our tapes, and then how can we improve the areas that don't have the high enough numbers to be competitive, and how can we walk in with more confidence in the areas that we do already shine. Because the truth is, we don't usually get a lot of feedback from casting directors in this industry other than if we book it or not. So Jessica Sherman is a casting director that I follow on Instagram, and she does really cool projects where she fundraises, especially for cancer. And if you don't know, I lost my mom to cancer this year. So the idea that there was this app where there would be a fundraiser if I spent money to participate in this graded kind of casting competition, that money would go towards cancer research. And I would be seen by casting directors that I already knew I was interested in getting into their doors, into their offices. And then even more than that, I also follow on Instagram an agent. She's amazing, and she is a wealth of free knowledge. She just does stories on her Instagram that answers questions actors have. Stacy Solodkin. And she wrote one of the scenes that could be used in the competition. And between kind of all of the stars aligning, I knew I really wanted to give this a chance. I was super curious about the app. When I started, they were still working out some bugs. I built a whole account and then I logged on one day and actually my profile information was gone and I had to do it again. It was still in the beta testing stage, I believe, so being in at the really early stages does kind of mean that there will be some bumps and hiccups as you get the hang of it. But I wanted to learn because I liked this idea of being able to numerically track your progress and really get critical and logical about what casting directors see when they look at your audition. How do they numerically grade you? Well, the idea is they pick 4 major categories, and you can be ranked on a score of 1 to 5, 5 being the most. You did that area of performance very, very well. And the areas they've selected are believability, how authentically you embody the role and perform. So kind of the acting technique, right? This is what we work on with Meisner. This is what we work on with anything Stanislavski, except for like the really commedia dell'arte, the really stylized forms of acting. We're looking to be as realistic and believable as possible. Then we have creativity. Ever heard make a strong choice? Creativity ranks you on how unique, creative, and strong your choices are. Now, this is tricky because sometimes the most creative choice actually undermines the overall performance, but sometimes we try to keep it way too safe by making sure we're as believable as possible at the cost of making a choice that is unique to us and stands out. So already you can kind of see that having these different elements all together really helps us fine-tune what should be our balance in the audition room or on a self-tape, how to navigate both being unique and interesting and having something that stands out, as well as being really in service to the role. They should never be mutually exclusive. They can feel that way sometimes, but part of what we do is making sure that we are better than having to make that exclusive choice and instead incorporating it all. Then there is specificity. This really comes down to how well you've analyzed the text. How specific you can be depends on how well you've seen all the beats and moments and opportunities in the script. They describe it as incorporating all the written details. So really, the best specificity depends on the quality of your analysis, which is why actors should do actor homework and should not think I need it to be all just raw. I mean, you can live that way, but in all honesty, what we do does require intelligence and analytical thought, and embrace that. Let's love that. We're awesome for that. And then the last one, and I love this, is personality, right? Which stands for the X factor. It's not even the personality of the character, because that's more believability or specificity. It's does something about you, some kind of X factor or it factor shine through in your performance? Is there something in a tape that just makes them want to work with you? I'm so glad they just give it numbers and no explanation, because in all honesty, that's almost impossible to describe. But everyone has a gut reaction to seeing a tape about whether or not you have it. And that is useful to know. That doesn't mean that they are objectively correct, but it does tell you how you're coming off. So you have an account, you go in, and you check out under shoot a new scene what scenes are available. They pick scenes at a time because you will be going head to head with other actors performing the same scene. They will tell you what the age range is. They will tell you what the genre. So you can practice if you're working on feature film drama or sitcom comedy. You can very specifically target the genre that you think you're most competitive in or the genres you're the weakest in. It's very much like a gym where you can pick your targeted areas. And then it talks about the archetype of the character. Let's say you know that the sage as a character archetype is not your strongest type, so you start workshopping the sage. This is your chance to either help you fine-tune your type or help you explore the boundaries of your type and see if you can't improve your fringes or if you should really focus on the meat and potatoes of your jobs that you'll be getting. Now, keep in mind, these archetypes are not written the same way that like a casting breakdown might be written. They're written by fictional archetype that you might know if you were a writer. So this is where you also want to have some, remember that old English from your high school. You're going to want some skills when it comes to, and knowledge when it comes to writing, narrative structure, and basic kind of English fundamentals, symbols, and archetypes in fiction and literature that we find over and over. TV, movies, it's fiction. It's more fiction. And so the rules of fiction still apply here. Okay, so once you select it, you can either read to your camera and there will be cues that can be given to you, or you can record this separately like you would an audition self-tape with a reader, etc., and then upload a pre-recorded, pre-established video. I lean towards that more because I have a self-tape routine down and because I really like to have a little bit more minute control in how I edit my self-tapes, etc., before I submit them. And then you upload and you submit. I'm still learning how Castability works. There may be times where you just submit and you are ranked in isolation, so you still get numbers and feedback, but without it being comparative. However, how it worked when I did the Castaway Cancer Challenge was that it was a challenge. And so for each scene, every actor who did that scene were grouped into groups of 5. So it would be me going head to head with 4 other actors. And then the casting directors were picking those 1 through 5. So basically it was a ranking. The performance they thought was the best in a category got the 5. That was first place. And then someone else had to get the 4. Even if they did excellently, if they were second place, they had to get the 4. And so that way it helps the casting directors narrow their focus and have to make tough decisions. And then in your round with your group, whoever is the winner of that round goes head to head with the winners of the other groups in the next round. And this goes through as many times as necessary until we have a final winner. This is kind of like the casting process because it is a comparative process. You are being grouped and your audition is being compared to someone else to see which is the better fit for the character. So I thought I'd get a little bit vulnerable and I'd share my scores. I'm gonna play the clip that I submitted to them, the exact clip I submitted to them. I don't know which casting directors checked mine, but I do know that they are working casting directors in the industry and they're all fabulous. And this is the kind of feedback I would get if I had a chance to have honest conversations with them in the room. No one ever prepares you for when it comes back. I had stage 3C ovarian cancer. I've been technically cancer-free. It's no evidence of disease for a little over 3 years now. And I just found out I have microscopic tumor cell activity, which is a weird thing because it's not exactly cancer, but it's somewhere between healthy and sick. Both my mom and dad are in the sky. They both died of cancer. I got the lucky genes. I'm not sure how to hold it together again. I don't want to do chemo. That was the worst thing I've ever been through outside of my parents' death. It sort of becomes life at all costs, which is such an interesting concept. Because why don't we just let go? Why is it so important to hold on? Maybe if I just let go, I'd get to find out what happens after we die. I'd be with my parents. And it's pure happiness. I know that's a weird thing, but everybody always says, now they're not in pain anymore. So if that's the case, why does everyone act like it's such a bad place to go? So now that you've seen that scene, I actually was the winner of my first round. My strongest suits were my believability. I was first place in believability, which means the world to me because clearly I've devoted a lot of time to training that particular skill. And then I was first place in personality, the X factor. That was also thrilling for me because I like myself as a person, but we all have insecurities and doubts. And sometimes it's so easy, especially if you were ever a grade A, nerdy, overachiever kid, to really believe your value is always in how much you can give. But the X factor basically implies there's something about you, authentic, raw, primal you, that's just valuable, that's interesting, or attracts others to you. And so to see that there was something about me that was just appealing, interesting, intriguing, that was very reaffirming. And that is something that I want to remember is a strength of mine. And instead of always feeling I have to prove myself in all these ways, embrace a little bit more comfort in myself and trusting myself to carry myself through. My weakest was creativity. Now, you can kind of see it's a fairly dramatic scene and it's very close to my personal heart because my mother's cancer came back for a round 2. So I worked really hard to channel as realistically as possible, and I didn't take a lot of creative liberties. I only got a 2, so I was second to last in creativity of choices. So that suggests to me I may want to look at making sure I get bolder and I try a few more choices or takes that are something only I would think of with my personal life experiences. And then I was second place. I got a 4 for specificity. That also makes me very happy because specificity to me is a major part of the technique. Being the daughter of a writer, analysis is what I love to do. And I had notes all over that script. So I definitely think I can improve the choices I make based on my notes and my analysis. But I was really proud of those scores. And then we get to round 2. I did not make it past round 2. I got almost 3s across the board. Once again, creativity was a 2. I was second to last in creativity. So creativity is consistently my weakest point in this case. Obviously, with data, if you've ever done statistics, and I'm a statistics minor in case you didn't know, if you've ever worked with statistics, a small sample size is not reliable. However, getting to have these numbers and dig into it sure makes me want to do more scenes, because if I started to have a larger sample size of numbers, I could get some pretty consistent information on how people see me. That doesn't necessarily mean that's who I am, but it's how they see me, and that's important. So, once again, creativity was my weakest suit. But for believability, specificity, and personality, across the board I got threes. So on a first round, I was very competitive. But once I start getting to the winners of all these first rounds, I'm looking pretty average. If you want to make it to the final round, aka book it, you got to be above average. So I know areas to work. I know areas to hit harder. Then they show you what are the average numbers of everyone who kind of participated. And it shows you the average winner's scores. So you can kind of see how you compare to people who are making the cut. Maybe I was super close, maybe not. What do we learn? Well, we learned that my believability average was a 4, and the winner's is 4.75 average, so a little below. My creativity was a 2, and the winner's average is 3.69, so I'm kind of significantly below average in creativity with this data. And then specificity, the average is 3.9. The winner's average is 3.97 and mine is 3.5. So I'm pretty close on specificity. And I think with a little bit added work and the benefit of if I improve my creativity, it would also improve my specificity score because they kind of go hand in hand. It depends on how well you've analyzed your script. I think that would take me over the edge. And then the average winner's score for the X factor for personality was 3.75. My average was 4, so I'm above average on personality. This information, rather than feeling judgmental or harsh, feels empowering to me, and I want more of it because I also know the more I get, the more reliable I can look at these results and analysis. My thoughts for others. If you are at a stage in your career where you can kind of separate how others see you from who you truly are, this looks like it's going to be an invaluable tool. And I also know, because I get their emails consistently, that they've been building out their team to include data analysts so that they can start creating larger pictures and snapshots for actors about how casting directors make their decisions, how competitive the industry is in these different categories, what you're up against, how people are doing with different archetypes. What are the numbers? Now, these numbers are a little bit based on subjective analysis, but it's still a way of taking something that is subjective and at the very least quantifying it. That doesn't make it objective, but it does make it discrete variables that you can analyze. And I think that's very interesting. More than that, the fact that it's always rotating the scenes that are available to participate in basically means it's like going to the gym for your acting, especially your audition practice. You are generating mock auditions and self-tapes semi-constantly, and that is a beautiful opportunity. And it really does, to me, feel different than anything else that I have worked with. So if that interests you, I just wanted to share that because I was really proud of that tape. I loved that script. And I think I really like this app. So that's my low-key video. Take that how you will. I hope you're interested, and good luck on your own self-tapes should you choose to submit. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want in the future, or what kind of emotion I should break down next for a heavy hitter, or like maybe a song. I don't know. We can do something fun. All right, thanks. Bye.